Welcome to Talkin the Gridiron, your ultimate destination for all things NFL. We're here to deep dive into the heart of football, breaking down the action, the strategies, and the stories that make the NFL so electrifying. From the Sunday showdowns to Monday Night Magic, we're covering every touchdown, tackle, and timeout. So grab your game day snacks, settle into your favorite chair, and join us as we navigate the highs and lows of the gridiron, where the game is always on and the conversation never stops.
And welcome to Talkin the Gridiron here, Week 9, Variety Sports Network, Talkin the Gridiron with, of course, Jimmy Pilato here. Jimmy, how are we doing out there, sir?
Well, it's been a weekend, if you can't tell by my name for this week. All of my hot takes, all of the takes that I thought I tell people every week that it's not ever just a hot take for hot take's sake. Like, I do a lot of research. I watch a lot of the games. I feel like I know what I'm talking about. I coach a pretty damn good middle school level team, and I've coached at the high school level and looked at things. I played for a long ass time. So if I didn't pick something up, there'd be something wrong. I was totally wrong this week. I'm just the resident idiot. If I bet, I would have lost all my money. It's a good thing that I'm not a gambling man. It was rough. Starting from my little guys, I had a big blow up on them. We won 46-0. We got shut out in the second half. So that ain't good enough, Coach P.
Jimmy, but I've only been like in a gambling thing. I remember for probably 2 months, and where I was checking, doing basketball, did football and stuff like that. And I remember thinking how exhausted it was and how bad I was at it. And so but you
it
like
makes
you
everything
said,
worse.
you
Like normally, if you just watch the game, you can just root for, oh, cool, win, lose. Guy played well, guy didn't. Guy can still play well. Like, I bet there was one Thursday night game where Burrow had a parlay where if he ran for 40 and threw for 250, it was like plus 260 odds. I was like, oh, hell yeah. He ran for like 38 yards and threw for 246. I was like, really? I lost the whole thing by less than 15 yards.
Nothing will make you feel dumber than sports together here.
Then I live bet hockey one time, and
that's not good. Hey, Week 9 though, NFL football here. You got the Broncos there. I got the Raiders backwards. I might bust out the Cardinals, and I think I might need to switch like you for the rest of the year.
I was thinking about putting on one of my Bengals shirts, but I decided to keep my integrity as a broadcaster, and you know who would have no problem calling me out for it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that way. I'm just here, and I decided to keep the Broncos hat going because that one was. It's good that it's good both games were going on at the same time. I'll say that.
You did have that to your advantage there. So what did we say? 7-0 here at halftime here. So we'll be with you here. We got the 4-4 Colts and the Vikings. Check out Jimmy up far into the bench. They did a good job with his center of attention there too. A little shout out to his pod there. So be sure to check that out. But Jimmy, let's get this thing going here. Talking the gridiron here. Let's start with the ending here of the day. Right, like this was the one here in the afternoon. Stafford. For the win.
Stafford fires downfield.
Yeah.
For a touchdown.
I mean,
Robinson.
That was as good a catch as you're going to have there in overtime to win a game, though.
He was one. He's a guy that I think of, forgotten about because the team they blew away their draft capital, but the team has already been doing that for a long time. They've built themselves through the draft. Their team, like, you might not know some of the stars, and I think that's probably what it was at the beginning of the season, and obviously injuries, but Stafford as your quarterback is never going to be a bad thing, and if you give him a little bit of protection, that was Robinson. That wasn't even Nakua or Cup. That was his third slot receiver making that play and winning them the game in overtime. Granted, they should not have been in that situation, but, good head coach, really good quarterback, way above average, obviously Hall of Famer now with the championship, and I think his stats were probably good enough. How do you can't let you have a man coverage thing. You have man coverage and you let him go inside A, which is wrong. And then you let him run right by you, B, which is double wrong. So that was the easiest touchdown of Stafford's career. One of.
So, I mean, it's kind of that division though. It's kind of a weird one right now, right? And we'll get into Cardinals here a little bit too, but in a few, but we have the Niners there, obviously, as the favorite, of course. But you do have the Rams starting to kind of feel themselves a little bit. They got cut back. He was good, as he always is, making sideline catches. And you have the Cardinals. They get a win over the Bears as well. I still like the Niners to win it, but, it definitely is going to be that grind that, I think you picked the Rams and Terrell picked the Rams. So like that, it is going to be a grind now for them with the Niners schedule. But Stafford's starting to prove like kind of how I thought he was. Maybe I had him at number one. Maybe that's a little crazy, but he showed in this game where he can still be electric like that at moments. So
they struggled after their Super Bowl season, but they lost a guy like Andrew Whitworth and Aaron Donald in back-to-back seasons. So that's a lot of leadership out of your locker room. And they still have Stafford there. They still have Kupp. Doesn't look like they're going to be selling. I know I heard a lot of rumors, especially because the Broncos were on their winning streak and the Rams were on a losing streak, and he was hurt. Kupp might have been on the trade block. I don't think that's going to happen now. They're going to keep him around. They're going to keep whatever they have. I think they're going to play out this season because you're right. When you look around at the NFC West, they're still alive. The Seahawks, even though they lost today, and it's up and down. They're still finding themselves where that's a young coach. That's not an established culture like we're seeing in the other places. And yeah, for San Francisco, if Brian was here, I'd give him, a harder time than anybody else does because he has such high expectations for him. And I understand the feeling and I know where he's coming from.
He's frustrated right now.
They're going to get hot and all of the weapons are going to click. Did they lose Ayuk for the year?
He's out for the year, so they're in trouble there.
So I'm going to be interested to see what they do at the trade deadline, and then also as my first overall fantasy pick, Christian McCaffrey, ever going to come back? Please, for the love of God, just, please.
Hey, Jimmy, can I ask you this? I know I kind of, because we're just a strictly football show, I'll kind of divert to this just for a second as we're on this game with Geno Smith. Is the crystal ball like the little Cinderella, like the clock, like is it kind of running out? Like, I felt like he had that, it was ascending. And I'm just asking. I'm not saying like he's a bad quarterback. He's 4-5. I'm just asking, is there like a limitation? Is there a 9-10 window there that he's going to max out at? Yes. I'm just asking. I'm just throwing it out there as kind of a thing.
He's like he's better than Trent Dilfer, but that's kind of like the prototype quarterback of what he is. When you have him there and when you have good things around him, he's going to do well. When you're in a new situation and you're breaking in a new culture with a new coach, it's going to be kind of whatever the offensive line can give you. He does not throw well under pressure. That's kind of been his thing all the way going back through college, but I would still give him a lot of credit because he's playing well with what he has and they're winning games. It's not like they're sitting there at the Panthers and Saints at 1-7 and 2-6 and like, oh Jesus, what is it like to win? Well, I don't know that feeling. They're not in that situation. They're just not consistent. And right now, consistency is key in that division, and consistency has not been there for pretty much any team because the Cardinals have come out and got absolutely pecker slapped a few weeks, and today they beat up the Bears. They pushed around the Bears, and Caleb Williams is struggling 2 weeks in a row, and I think this is. Are we finally going to see Eberflus? I think Eberflus might be the next coach gone.
Eberflus. I like that's a good name. I need to you're acting for that one with it. Jimmy, just a quick thing here. The Niners are the only team with a positive differential there scoring. The Rams are -24, Cardinals -7, but both of them are on 3-game winning streaks right now. So. And they both have beat the Niners. So they do have, and the Cardinals.
And they both got beat up early on in the season and have kind of righted themselves. There's a couple games in there, and it's a stat that it's good. I feel like differential is a little bit more telling in NBA and NHL and MLB because you get to see so many more games. In this one, like the Broncos defense last year at the end of last season had kind of righted themselves, but they were still bottom third of the league because of that 70-20 blowout. So it is telling. Like I said, they're the ones that started off the best. They had the highest expectations, but I would also say that they've kind of looked the worst compared to those expectations. All these other teams, I really didn't know what I was going to get out of them. They were supposed to be the standard. This is the team. Brock Purdy is taking the next step. He got paid as Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, he's going to get paid. Yeah,
well, he's going to get paid as Mr. Irrelevant, and he's going to be the face of that franchise. So
no doubt.
I still think they're in a good spot. I think that they're going to be fine, but it is fun to see them sweat. It is fun to know that this year when they make it to the playoffs, it's probably going to go through Motor City instead of Levi Stadium because I hope when we get to that game, I'll save it for when we get there because that was a huge divisional matchup, but the 49ers are not the NFC favorite right now.
let's transition to that. Let's go over there with that. As you made, I do want to say the Niners, though, they did beat the Eagle, or they didn't beat the Eagles. They were in that championship game when Purdy got hurt in that the year before, where they got off to the slow start and they didn't get that home game there against it. So, all right. So you mentioned I got it down below some of the notes here from the game. Here's the interception they got towards the end off, in the second half or in the second quarter there. What'd you make? The Lions by far now are looking. I mean, when somebody put that's Will Levis-esque or something, I thought that was good.
That was a dumb play from a guy that hasn't made many of those.
10-3, Jimmy. You can't. You're the quarterback there. That's the game right there. That's a game changer right there.
Especially because it's not like you are at home. It's a divisional game. This is huge for playoff standings and everything like that. You could possibly be the one to derail this momentum train. But with what Detroit is right now, it's a good thing that the Packers are on a bye, except that means that Chicago's probably going to beat them the next game that they play, because that's been the trend so far, is that the Lions beat you and then you're beat up so bad that the next game you play, it doesn't go well. They're just a team. They've built themselves and they've gone through all the adversity that they've had to go through as a franchise that for a long time was the depths of everything. You've been defeated. You had one of the 2 defeated seasons in the recent era of the NFL, yet now you went through the stretch of losing big with your new coach. He established that culture. We all saw him do the up downs on Hard Knocks. That was cool. He's biting kneecaps. He's drinking 18 espresso shots a day. Second year, they're losing close games, and there's a couple that they steal, and Jared Goff is maybe it's not so much that the Rams won that trade. Maybe both teams benefited because they got a guy that was right for their system. The next year they're winning these games. They have the few snafus, the extra lineman last year not being able to report as eligible. This is the season where everything seems, and I'm knocking on wood, and Lions fans are going to hate me for saying this because I've been the biggest mush all season. But what I saw in the Packers game today, because the Packers are a good team, they were ahead for a majority. When they needed to take advantage, they ran the ball like crazy. Both Montgomery and Gibbs are weapons out of the backfield. There is no 1A. There is no 1B. Whoever's in the backfield can get the handoff, can get the pass, and they will make you pay. Amon-Ra St. Brown is on a mission, and Laporta being back is probably the most underrated return from injury on the season so far. The offense for the Detroit Lions is set. If they had Aiden Hutchinson, I'd say the team is set, but they're going to figure something out. I guarantee they're going to have a move coming through by the deadline next week.
To me, the biggest play of the game though was them going forward on 4th down. Like, what was it? Fourth and 5.
4th and 2, and Jahmyr Gibbs ended up taking it to the house. I'm pretty sure.
Not that one. I'm thinking the one earlier in the game when they were down 3-0. Yeah. And it was on the 9-yard line, right? Or I think that they ran it with Montgomery on 3rd. They get to the 6-yard line. Then they have an encroachment. They were going to go for it anyways, and the Lions get an encroachment. And they throw that fade route to St. Brown. I mean, you talk about we talked about it last year when we had C. Henry on. Like, that's what the Lions come playoff time though. Those are going to be the plays where if you make them, you're up 7-3. You're rolling kind of through. But if you miss that, right, Jimmy, that is. And here's the thing. Lions fans are going to
Here's the thing that because I agreed with him last season because I didn't think that this team wasn't, I don't think, ready. They weren't seasoned enough. They had a great run. Now it seems more like instead of a reckless decision, this is just a business. Like, they're assassins. When they go out there, they expect on every single play they're going to get the necessary yards that they need, and they're going to be able to break it in for a touchdown. And so far, they've been able to prove that. When they need 5, they get 15. This is not a team that's satisfied with just crossing the finish line. They want to cross the finish line and beat you up for doing it. Look at the amount of blowouts. I think they've had 2 50-point games so far on the season against the worst teams in the league, but they're just out there messing up the worst teams in the league. They are doing this on purpose. They are doing this to make a name for themselves. And right now, Dan Campbell is early candidate. I think is almost halfway through the season with the weird 17 weeks. It's not quite halfway coming up, or a little bit over halfway. But I think that Dan Campbell right now would get a lot of credit for Coach of the Year.
Probably Coach of the Year, yeah. No
doubt. I think that he's getting the most out of his team, and they are living up to the expectations that they had set very high at the beginning of the season.
Hey, Jimmy, next week on Sunday night, we get Lions at Texans. Not a bad little Sunday night game there. If Texans coming after
Well,
a loss.
I mean, the Texans have to figure
they
themselves
gotta
out
figure
before that. If you don't come into that game right, that is not going to be a fun primetime matchup. That just like how, we normally don't go all the way back to Thursday night, but I guess if we want to mention it a little bit, the Jets looked right, and Nico won't give this play the credit when I talk about it on my show, so I need to talk about it on here too.
Yeah.
The Garrett Wilson shin catch,
that catch
is
was
better
ridiculous.
than Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch.
A lot of people were throwing that out there.
I think that it's same outcome. It's a touchdown. It's a regular season game. He didn't get the called pass interference on him, but
a lot of people were saying that. You're not the only one. I heard a lot of people.
Nico is just going to shit on it all because it's the Jets, but that was the first time that this has been like that was Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet had he hasn't snapped yet. And I don't know if it's going to be the snap where half of the league is decimated and they go on this run, or it's going to be the clank, clank, and then all of a sudden he's just going to get steamrolled by Josh Allen. I feel like if anybody in that division, if we're going to continue with the nerdy Marvel comparisons, Josh Allen is the Iron Man of the AFC East right now. He's trying to take over and kill off and stave off. He's the Harry Potter trying to make sure Snape doesn't take over. I'm not a Harry Potter person, so I don't think I did that one right.
Well, I don't either, so I'm not going to hear that. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. So that's the good thing about it. Vikings here, just real quick. They tie it up, Jimmy, 7-7 here. On always a tough goal line play. The little stretch out to the fade there, to the tight end spot there. He gets it.
Who's leading the AFC South? Are the Colts in the running for leading that division?
Yeah, so
it's the Titans, the Jags, the Colts, and it's the Texans. Okay,
yeah.
never mind.
So the Texans are ahead. They got 6 wins. They have 3 losses. Colts are 4-4. So big win. Good chance for the Colts to stay in it like they always do. They're always in the mix. So
imagine how shitty that would be to be a team that's 5-3 and you're tied for third in your division, because that's a if the Colts win tonight, that's a possibility for both the Packers and the Vikings looking up at the Lions with 2.5 game leads on you, and I think a couple head-to-head matchups. Like you're guaranteeing a wild card spot the more you let this team continue to roll.
No doubt, and that's going to be a big thing moving forward. How they, a team that's not rolling that I just wanted to get real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time. This was my favorite.
The Cowgirls.
If you read lips, people, it always says, we beat you. You do beeping Shaq.
There's no argument. No argument. Is anybody arguing?
Nobody's arguing that one, Dak. You are correct there. So they go down. Did you see what
Jerry said on his radio show this week? He said that this is the most gelled and most come together team this is the most gelled together team that we've ever had. I've been in the locker room. And I've been, they take showers together after practice. They talk about how awful I am as an owner. I know they're just messing around with me because they know I got them secret cameras set up. Oh, maybe they don't know. They are supposed to be secret cameras. But Jerry, come here. You're in your Vince McMahon era. It's probably time to step away. The longer you stay in the spotlight, the more it's going to look really, really bad for you.
The little famous Vince McMahon. What they got? So they've lost 3 straight now. It's the longest losing streak since they lost 4 in 2020. They're struggling. The Falcons, they kind of are making a little noise. They're 6-3 now in the South. So we'll see where they're at with it. I need a few more weeks from the Falcons for me to really kind of buy into them. Jimmy,
out of that division, though, I would still say because of the way the Buccaneers are beat up right now, it's the Falcons to take.
No doubt.
Even if they're going to lose or win these closer games, as long as they can come out of it somewhat healthy and continue to win, that's all that really matters, because they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a home game. And the way the NFC looks right now with the way the 49ers, what we were talking about earlier, the Falcons may have a better winning percentage, and that goes a long way for seeing, maybe you get first 2 rounds as home playoff games instead of just 1. That's where the Falcons are kind of sitting right now. They have the ability, but it is also teetering, and it's the Falcons. So we're all expecting for the 28-3 to happen. That's what we're all looking for. Right. We're just looking over the shoulder, when is it gonna? Kirk Cousins is gonna. He's gonna. What's gonna?
Yeah, exactly. And John and all those guys, Mike would say the same thing with you. That's exactly what Falcons Nation said with it. I got the other game of the day here, just for that. We kind of moved through it a little bit here. I got the Bills. They went on a 61-yard field goal here. A game that was a tough game for them against the Dolphins here. So they end up getting the W against the Dolphins here. They moved to 7-2, Jimmy. I don't know, big. I'm not saying a big win for them. Their division's pretty weak, obviously. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at with the Bills.
If they are going to go and try and, because this was their
Should
chance.
they trade Hill then? Should they trade these guys? Is that?
No, I don't know if they should trade them, but I feel like they're really close to. I don't know what they're going to do because they have a lot of money tied up in that quarterback situation, and I just don't know how you feel confident in if you are an owner or a general manager of the franchise. I don't know how you feel confident. You got to invest something in a backup quarterback that's more than Skylar Thompson. Then, if you're going to continue to roll with Tua, I don't know how much confidence is left in Mike McDaniel. And while he does not deserve this, I think that I've listened to him on a few shows, and he went to the same high school as Nico and I. So I would like to think that he has the outlook like it hasn't been fair, but that's the way that it rolls sometimes. Everybody's kind of been bad in their first coaching situation, unless you're the Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur. Like everybody's kind of struggled, and he is struggling at this point. So I think that he's probably on a short leash, and maybe they do get rid of one or two pieces. You can get rid of one of the speed demons, like maybe Waddle is enticing. They've already gotten rid of a lot of pieces that I thought they'd have tried to keep around. Gesicki's playing tight end for the Bengals, and
I just can't figure them out. Like, I mean, it's got to be frustrating. I mean, you make the playoffs a couple of years ago. You get the quarterback hurt there as you enter the playoffs, then you lose again the next year. And then this year is a wasted season. I mean, we know that, right?
If they won today, they definitely have had a roadmap because
they did, but now it's tough. 2-6.
No, it's 2-6, and you have to beat Buffalo at home, and Buffalo doesn't lose to you when you play in Miami. You had that chance last year, and then you ended up having to go play in minus 40-degree weather in Kansas City.
What did you think of your hometown here, the Broncos here? They get smashed by the Ravens. No shock there. The Ravens, like we mentioned, this time of the year, they're tough. Henry just looks to be. I was looking something up this morning when I was doing Fat Boy. There's only like a handful of guys over the last 30 years that have been 30 or older, and I mean 30, not like 34, but that have got more. That have led the NFL and touchdowns, which that wasn't a quarterback, obviously, and Henry's on pace to do that, and I would expect him to do that if he stays healthy with this team. And Jackson was awesome today, and the Broncos, this is just kind of walking into a tough storm. I feel like you kind of throw this game tape out if I was the Broncos.
They had a chance until they just got outworked in the third quarter. It was kind of like a boxing match going into the later rounds, and the body blows just continued to land. And this team on offense specifically has no talent, none whatsoever. Cortland Sutton is your number one receiver, and I don't think that he's the number one in any other situation. If you look across at all the teams that you've played so far this season, they've all had a better receiver and a better receiver room than you. So what can you expect your rookie quarterback to do when he has to play against a defense with Patrick Queen and Kyle Hamilton? And granted, Bo missed on one that was wide open to Troy Franklin that would have been the first touchdown, and I think would have cut it to a 3-point game early on in the second quarter, but they kept it close. Sean Payton is showing a lot of faith, and Bo is growing in his role. He's playing better. The first interception was not his issue at all. He's got shitty receivers. He's throwing to Lil Jordan Humphrey, he bats the ball up worse than Tyree Stevenson did last week, and it just happens to fall right into the hands. Like there's a lot of it was a bad day, and it just snowballed all on top of each other. They're just not there. They don't have the experience level to come back from that right now.
No, it's still solid, still 5-4 on the year, so obviously still having a solid season with the rookie quarterback there. You
got to get solid through the rest of your lineup. You got to start having some players that people can look around and go, oh yeah, I know who that is. Not, oh, who is, what is going, Vele? It's Vele.
It's starting to look like the Ravens Steelers again. And that, you know what I mean? Like, that division well, and it's them again.
That is who it is right now, because when we talk about my other team and your team, that's not. I mean, it's not like I'm giving you.
But we're getting that rivalry again. Though the Ravens steal. Yeah, you're not going to get anything with me on that. We got. I don't know. It will just be interesting how that plays out here. It's going to be some good games. Obviously, 10-7 probably in the rain, as we'll know there at that. Barkley, obviously the play of the day today with the Eagles. Not the cleanest game though by the Eagles. They kind of started to give it away.
Yeah, that's their. Nick Sirianni is. I think he's that kind of coach. He lets the guys. This is a player-led locker room.
Look at this 4th down play, 4th and inches. I mean, what happened?
You have Jalen Hurts. Yeah, you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. What are you doing?
I mean, if you're Lane Johnson, how pissed would you be on a play like that? So they get
the win. If I was an offensive lineman and I saw them signaling in a pass play, I'm punching my quarterback in the face, and we're either taking a timeout or taking a delay of game because I'm not helping his ass up. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We have the lead, we have the ball, and we have the best offensive line, or one of what was once the best offensive line. I haven't. I need to do a little bit more. The Ravens today look like a hell of an offensive line. This is just how the Eagles are right now this season. They're going to rely heavily on Saquon, and I think that's what Saquon has always wanted. This is everything that he's always wanted, and
that was nice.
That's just ridiculous. Sick. Like I never even thought to try and make my video game character do that.
No. Do you think he actually kind of like? I mean, it was kind of I'm kind of thinking through this. Like, all right, makes the move here. He's
spin move,
kind of crazy. Yeah. Well, then just sees him and
I think that he looks at him. Do I think that he thought he was going to totally clear him from the backside? I have no idea. But you got to remember who you're talking about. This is Saquon Barkley, who can deep squat 900 pounds. He's just leaping. That's like not even the highest he can jump. He's doing.
Jackie, I always think of Jackie Chan. He'd be proud of a movie like that. Just whoop right up there.
I wish we could do editing on the fly and put the Super Mario, the the star thing.
But they're right. And the Jaguars continue to suck, Jimmy. They continue to just be. I mean, a wasted season for them too.
Get fired. When is it happening,
Jimmy? They have
when is it happening? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for Christmas?
Apparently they want to pay him. They want to pay him to be fired. I guess they're like, nope, you're not getting any vacation time. You're working here. You will be miserable. And if we
fire him now, he's going to spend all his time on the golf course. But yet he's been canceling practice 30 minutes early so that he can go to the golf course every day. Maybe we should just fire. Maybe we should just pull the trigger because we have not given our quarterback that we've given all this money to. I
mean, I don't understand what they're waiting for.
I really don't. What do you know what's wrong with them? Because I really can't think of what's wrong with them. Because I thought Doug Peterson was a good coach, and I thought Trevor Lawrence would be able to do something with a good.
I did too.
Coach. That was my expectation.
They're one of the more confusing franchises over the last couple of years. They blow the division late, right? And then when you do that, it just feels like you get a little negative energy the next year. And I always wonder if you ask their players deep down how they like traveling overseas as much as they do. And I'm not saying that like adds to the season. I just wonder how they think about that with some of that stuff. So I don't know. Those are just my little things with them on it. Your Bengals do destroy my Raiders today. No shock whatsoever.
Thank you for not covering Chase Brown out of the backfield. That was amazing for my fantasy team.
We like to not do a lot of things as a franchise, as your team there. I mean, the Raiders, you watched this. I don't know if you watched much of the game, but if you did, I was
watching back and forth with this in the Broncos game. I told Nico, my fandom is split right now. You know how they make the perfect quarterback? My fandom right now is I need to watch the Broncos for their defense and their coaching, and I watch the Bengals for their offense and their weapons. I watched the Bengals for the toys.
Did you watch other than the Jack Jones where you guys just gave us a free touchdown?
Burrow felt bad for you guys. Instead of throwing 6 touchdowns himself, he might. You weren't going to throw a touchdown at that point, so he figured he might as well throw one.
No, when you watch the game and you watch the Raiders, I'm curious from your standpoint. Do you just think pathetic? How do you watch this team? Like when you're watching the Raiders, you're just like, it's got to be no quarterback, right? It's always no quarterback.
It's just you can just tell the lack of confidence throughout, and it's fitting because watching this game, the first quarter, the Raiders come out and score, and then the next defensive series, they get a big stop. and you have that confidence, and you're seeing Max Crosby doing all that Max Crosby likes to do. But as soon as the game flips, they have lost the ability to continue to think that they can come back. At this point right now, a 3-point lead for the Las Vegas Raiders is an insurmountable objective. You cannot overcome a 3-point lead. So as a defense, as soon as the other team scores a touchdown, they just, oh God, it's already over. Yeah. No, it's not. If you can get a couple stops and maybe our offense can get a few things going, but I don't know. I am kind of shocked that it looks like Antonio Pierce has lost the locker room the way that he has.
I wonder I seriously wonder if he's going to get fired though, Jimmy. Like I told you, I don't think there's a chance he'll get fired at the beginning of the year, but like
Davis has no money to pay any of these coaches that he's firing. He's going to have to give away the team, which I don't know. Maybe that's something that you would be open to at this point.
No,
he's not going to be able.
You're right, but they got to get a quarterback somehow in the draft this year. Sanders is. I think
it's going to be Shedeur, and I think maybe Shedeur, with what I've seen, and CU had a bye this week. I'm not sitting here saying that CU is right back in the Big 12 title picture with everything that happened in college football.
I saw that. Yep.
And Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I'm pretty sure they're already done with school. I'm pretty sure they were done with school by the time that they transferred, because that's how everybody works now. You, instead of staying for 4 years, you get your degree done in 3, so you have 2 extra graduate years to play for 2 other teams. They're already taking $15,000, $20,000 investing in their bodies. You have the routine that Shedeur Sanders does before every game. Maybe that's something this franchise needs to see as if a rookie comes in and he's the most disciplined and the most professional and he works the hardest, what does that say about the rest of us? What does that say about Max Crosby sitting over there bitching, punching his coaches in the chest and talking shit on his podcast while your rookie quarterback is out there and he's trying to do what he can to get a team better? It does not have to be the most talented quarterback, but what I've seen from Bo Nix and the Broncos this year, I am more than willing to give that another try next year. I want to see what Sean Payton, once George Payton can figure out the personnel issue, I want to see what this team can do next season, because I think that they're in the right situation. You can get a guy that's in the right situation, you're fine.
You know what I don't want to see though, Jimmy? I don't want to see Ritter, and I don't want to see Minshew.
The fact that it was Desmond Ritter, I just felt so bad. I didn't even text you at all during that game, and I said I was about to put on one of my Bengals shirts, and I was like, no.
God bless you for not doing that. I mean, it's just like I said. I think we're.
What am I going to talk shit about? My team
we're the worst team in the league.
My team is still 4-5, and we got to win.
Still got a chance.
Yeah, I know, but did you hear Burrow's comments? Which I get what he's trying to do, and he truly does believe that they're going to do this. He's like, we just got to go on an 8-game winning streak and win the rest of them. Yeah, cool. You can do that. Why couldn't you just win some of the first 6?
You go at Ravens, at Chargers, so. There you go, and then you go. Is it at Steelers? You go,
at least now we all know that they're all must wins. If they lose any of those games because they're all conference games and 2 of them are in division, you're fucked. That's it.
Like it's a huge loss at that point. How about the Commanders here? They end up getting the W against the Giants. Giants make a little push there at the end. Daniels is just such an in control. Like this is what I'm. Like when I'm talking about the Raiders, it's like this is what we should have traded up for. I know you can't do that, but unless you're given a
who knows what he's gonna do. Yeah, who knows what he's gonna do in that situation? I think that this is another team that drafted the perfect quarterback for the situation that they wanted. Dan Quinn is taking over a franchise that is under new ownership, and they need to get rid of a lot of the stigma from the past regime. And this was the guy that. There's something about these LSU quarterbacks that have been coming out of
man. And they used to be terrible.
I know they did. I know you had one of them. That's kind of what started the downfall of your franchise. If we're going to be 100% honest,
that was definitely part of it. Yeah,
I didn't think that Burrow was going to be the switch for mine, and I didn't think that Jaden Daniels was going to be the switch. But I guess now we know. But I don't. It's not the LSU to me. What it is with those two, it's. Jaden Daniels was at Arizona State and was the starter and knew that he wasn't going to be able to get what he wanted to get out of that situation. So he took the leap of faith, transferred, got into it, and became the starter at LSU, won the Heisman Trophy. Burrow battled Dwayne Haskins, R.I.P. Dwayne Haskins, battled him for his starting spot at Ohio State, never got it, transferred, became the starter, went on to win the national title and the Heisman. The adversity and the overcoming of that adversity. But these guys are not just leaving when they lose the job. They battle, they play the season as the backup, and then they move. Or in Jay Daniels' case, you try and win as many games as you can under Herm Edwards at Arizona State, and then you move on and see what you can do. They're taking the chance on themselves, and that's led to a lot of maturity in very young quarterbacks.
It'll be interesting when he goes to the draft this year, when we get to that point of the season, that year, far out. Like I said, we started at the beginning of the year. I said, I wonder how many actually move up. They always do. So we'll see where that.
I think Carson Beck is moving himself down, but that's a conversation for a college football podcast.
I think he definitely is at some point here. Vikings making a little noise here in the third here, trying to get into this 2-yard line here.
Who else do you think they are going to throw to?
Score. I know.
Who else are they going to throw to?
That's like Jefferson right here. I mean, he's going to have every Vikings wide receiver record, you think, maybe here when it's all said and done.
He is another animal. He's a totally different receiver than Chase. I still think that there's different things that both of them give, but he is definitely I wouldn't mind having either of them on my team.
No, I think they're perfectly fine with how I would be okay with either one there. And the Bengals, there was an interesting guy in your Bengals that came out this week, an old player, and said, basically talking about how you guys do contracts, and that's never a good sign when you do that type of stuff with players as well. Afternoon delight. What do you think here, Jimmy? We got our Cardinals for afternoon delight. Brian out there, like the Cardinals here, maybe the team I'm switching to. 5-4, they get the dub over the Bears. We'll see what happens. Like I said, we talked about the NFC West already, kind of a little bit. I know we touched on that, but what do you kind of make of the Bears here a little bit? We kind of touched on the Cardinals a little bit, but you can talk about them as well. But are the Bears are they getting a little back to reality? I mean, I'm just kind of curious. They still have a solid record here. What are we kind of in the? What are they? 4-4 now, I think, or 4-5 now at this point. 4-4 now. In last place in the division, and this was at the end of the half again, where they just seem to have trouble giving the Commanders one last year. You just can't give up a run like that. That's Madden-esque where you're doing that. So that just can't happen.
With 10 seconds left in the with 10 seconds left in the half, that is
a field goal's one thing, right? But a touchdown, I mean, that's just even a field goal's tough at that point to give up right there.
Yeah, it shouldn't have. I mean, they have 2 timeouts, so maybe if you play the way that you did at the end of the game last week, we know that they're not very good in these end of game situations.
Dude, no way. What do you think of them? You think they're going to fade off here, or do you think they can get to 8 wins? I guess
if I'm looking at it as a coach, obviously, when they had that little run and they had the big win in London, somebody started smelling their oats. Somebody started sniffing themselves, and that's kind of the big thing, and what everybody always says about coaching, and why I think that it's the best philosophy to follow is Jocko Willing's extreme ownership and always take responsibility for whatever you're in charge of, because you are either coaching how to do something or you allow something at that level to happen. And right now, what I'm seeing from Matt Eberflus is he is allowing the Bears to think that they're good enough that they can wave off the crowd with a whole play left, make the biggest mistake of their life. And, I will give Stevenson credit because he came out and made an apology early on. Eberflus, I think it took him 4 or 5 days. He made an apology or finally took a little bit of responsibility for what happened on Wednesday or Thursday night. If I'm a player in that situation, my coach doesn't have my back. If I'm a coach in that situation, you got to go right immediately to the media and say, obviously I did not stress the importance of the situation enough. He thought that he could just hang out and wave off the crowd, and that's on me because he didn't think that was an important play, and I need to make sure that they're better. But obviously that's not what's happening. He's not getting through to them, and I thought he should have been gone last year. I think that they wanted to just not have another coach and quarterback change because that's all the Bears franchise does. I do think that Caleb Williams can be successful. I don't think that he's gonna be the best out of his group, and I don't think that he's gonna be an all-pro, but I think he could be successful. And if that franchise can get out of their own damn way and get a coach that can coach football, because the last 3 have sucked at coaching football, and maybe they have something. Maybe
they have something they can actually get back.
I think Adunze is good too. I think they have really good pieces. Their defense is solid.
No, you're right. They do have. That's the thing. They do have the pieces to get it done. So we'll see what happens there with it. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this before I got some questions for you here at the as we're kind of wrapping up the games here. This is our "Oh yeah" segment of it. A couple games here. We got Herbert. They beat the Browns. The Browns trouble.
Yeah, I picked up
Chargers.
Jameis Winston trying to get 2 weeks of magic in a row, and that sucked.
It did not happen there. The Titans do edge the Pats there. They get the win as well. And then you have the Panthers. They get the win as well. Good job, Mr. Young there. Gets the W over the Saints. If you're a Saints fan, rough right now. Like I said, I think Dennis Allen would be surprised if he does. If he might be one of the next ones to go here over the time. I know he lost Carr, but you can only say that so many times with injuries and that. So, Jimmy, I got 3 games here with the Chargers. I feel like we might spend some more time on them here in a second, but what do you kind of make out of these games here with your
I'm kind of shocked at how everybody's making a lot of excuses for Drake May, and I get that, the team is not good around him, but he should have been able to win that game. And it was like the last play in overtime. Oh, he's just moving so well in the pocket. And he's just going through his read so well. And then he gets hit as he's trying to throw very late into the play. And it's like, well, that's the wrong play. He needs to throw the ball or needs to get out there and scramble and make something happen. I'm kind of shocked at so far how much of a pass he's getting for how bad the team is. Because normally, even in these situations, rookie quarterbacks are expected to do something, and he's throwing touchdowns, but he's throwing a lot of interceptions, and he's got yardage. He was clearly the least ready to start of any of these rookie quarterbacks, and he's getting a lot of praise, and I just don't understand or really see why.
I mean, he does have.
They lost to the Titans today. The Titans suck. The Titans are probably 31st in the NFL, if we're being 100% honest.
He has that Patriots machine a little behind him as well, right? Like a little, there's a little love there with the. I mean, he does show the ability to extend plays and roll out. So when that happens,
he's played better than I expected, but it is.
I hear you.
At some point, Bo Nix is winning with not very much talent around him and playing very well, not throwing as many interceptions in recent games.
It will be interesting how, as the year goes on, as we enter next year with these rookie quarterbacks, how we view them is with it. Hey, what do you make? Just I don't want to go deep into it. Like, what's your biggest surprise? Is disappointment? Like, what's something that kind of like immediately where you're just like, I'm disappointed in this team? Or is there anything like just kind of quickly catches your attention from the NFL? I'd say for me, the NFC North as a whole been a little surprising. I thought there was going to be a little regression from the Vikings. And I thought the Bears were going to be a little lower. And then I got to throw the Commanders into there as one of the bigger surprises for me. And then I would say one of the biggest disappointments has to be the Jets. I know they got the big win. We'll see. Maybe that turns the season around. But so far, for me, that's been a little bit of a disappointment with just some of those things as well. So, and the Saints, they've been pretty bad too, but we're kind of expecting that.
I think surprise is it's not that the Lions are a good team. It's just how much better and how much more
that's a good call.
Complete of a game that they're playing than it looks like the rest of their competition.
That's a good call.
Disappointment. I mean, I'm disappointed that the Bengals are doing what they're doing again. And it's not a sustained recipe for success. And I am not. Nobody get on me and say that I'm switching back and forth, because I'm not. I'm just legitimately now just watching the games, and it's kind of more fun because I'm watching from more of an analytical perspective. But as of now, they're a team that beats really bad teams and almost beats good teams. They have not beaten a good team yet this season. They lost by 1 to the Chiefs. They lost by 3 in overtime to the Ravens. They got the shit kicked out of them last week by the Eagles. I mean, that was probably the most embarrassing thing about the entire season. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot that you can look at and say, that's damn embarrassing. But I did want to shout out Trey Hendrickson for career high 4 sacks today. That dude, he's leading the NFL.
He ran over that one guy.
There's one time where it was
like ran him over.
Moose Johnston was the commentator, and I was watching. He's like, the fact that you leave your tackle with like no tight end chip, you're not sliding to him after he's already given up 3 sacks against this guy. You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Raiders football, Jimmy. That's Raiders football at its finest. That's how.
Is it Whitehead? White hair?
Yeah, Whitehead. Yeah, he's not white.
That was not good. Not good there.
I kind of have to throw the Steelers into a surprise a little bit too. I knew they'd
They
be
are
good,
surprising.
then
They're double surprising because they were good under Fields and they're so far holding the ship against or with Wilson.
Jaguars as well. Well, that's a pretty disappointment there. How about this one for you? What team that is in first place will not make the playoffs? Like, because we're week 9, so we still have a little ways to go. So I got Bills in first place. They're 7-2, Jets 3-6 there. Got Steelers 6-2, Ravens 6-3, Texans 6-3. You got the Chiefs 7-0, Commanders 7-2, Lions 7-1, Falcons 6-3, Cardinals 5-4. So maybe the Cardinals are the easy one, but if you have
are we saying no playoffs in at all, or just
not at all?
Not winning their division?
Not making the playoffs. So you're in first place and they're just not making the playoffs.
That changes because I was gonna give you the Texans because I think that there's a chance that they fall out of maybe who knows, maybe kind of depends on how tonight's game ends up. But they were kind of interesting to me.
Because teams can jump off. We did this last year, and you've been a football fan forever. Week 9 is nothing. There's a team that's going to go 3-6.
There's still a long way to go and everything. The Texans are on that watch for me.
All right, I like that call.
And I don't think all the rest of the AFC.
Arizona's first place.
No, I mean, I was saying all the rest of the AFC teams that are in first place right now. I don't think anything too much of them. Yeah, the Cardinals are.
You think the Steelers, then they're probably making the playoffs. Then
I think that they're making the playoffs. That's what I was saying. If we're talking about losing the division
I'm talking
lead,
playoffs.
Yeah, because the Ravens can come back and steal the division still. But
all right,
I'm seeing. I'll possibly throw the Falcons out there too because I've already mentioned it. We're all waiting for the 28-3 to happen. When is that shoe going to drop? Because right now they're 4-0 in the division, which is awesome. But that means you either finish this thing, and if you go 6-0 in your division, hallelujah, Kirk Cousins is your savior, and Michael Penix is the greatest backup plan of all time. But there's a chance that now that you're 4-0 in your division, you kind of topped out as much as you can. Is this the height of your team? Is it now, oh my God, are we going to go, we're starting to slip, we're falling. Sir, hey, Captain, engine 1 is failing, and engine 2 just got hit by a pigeon. Oh no.
I don't want to be a negative Dilly here, but we got the Commanders. Is there a chance? I'm just saying, is there a chance? There's
definitely a chance. Did you see them play without Jaden Daniels?
I did.
When Jaden Daniels got hurt that one time, and there's no chance, there's no way Jaden Daniels, he's a quarterback that's going to be banged up, and if he's banged up, maybe he loses a little bit of that calm and that confidence. There's all the teams right now that are being led by rookie quarterbacks because
a little bit of a chance there.
I think that Bo and the Broncos, depending on how the next 2 weeks of the season go, kind of dictate, I think, the expectations for the rest of the season. There's like 4 or 5 teams. The Chargers are that same way. How do the next 3 weeks go? Do they continue to put things together and Harbaugh continues to get them to win close, or is it now regression time? Is everybody just going to start falling down? Are the Chiefs going to play? Because I'm sure we're going to get to, because they're tomorrow.
They're Monday night, yeah.
They're always prime time. Always prime time.
My last one here for you, Jim, before I do get to the Monday night or at our cross off, if we have any, is what team do you like to turn it around and be a Super Bowl threat? So like this happens as well, right? We have these kind of teams that we're not expecting. So, obviously not the Ravens, not the Steelers. Is there a chance that the Chargers are a Super Bowl threat? Is there a chance?
No.
That the Packers are a Super Bowl threat?
Packers would be an interesting one.
Cardinals, I don't know. Is there a chance these teams could make a little run? We've seen it before, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe your Broncos even. Your Broncos.
No, the Broncos are not this year.
How about the Bengals? How about the Bengals, though? I feel like that's the team.
Super Bowl threat? No, but I think a playoff threat, yeah. And
I think they could get hot at the end, like an Eli Manning-esque type run. I feel like Burrow is that type of quarterback.
They have never, but that's the thing, is that they have never been in that situation. The playoff run that they did have, they won the division hosted. They haven't. Whenever they're the wild card team, they get trounced in the wild card game.
And that's it. Cowboys. No, I'm just kidding. The Chargers to me would be an interesting one.
I still don't have. There's just something about them right now. Because of all the weapons that they got rid of on offense. I think maybe next year after I feel like they've built the inside the way that they want it. They've really set that foundation. It's like it's a Three Little Pigs story. It's the last of the little pigs. It's taken them a while to build that brick house, but damn it, once that brick house is up, that wolf is not going to be able to knock that thing down. So maybe next season. I just don't see it on the Chargers this season.
I feel like this will be an interesting 3 questions to ask 5 weeks from now as well. Like where we're at with this one, like kind of like where we're at. And this will be interesting where we're at. Like, so those are the teams that kind of jump out. I feel like a lot of them are, so like I said, I think your Bengals, maybe the Chargers kind of jump out to me. The Eagles are 6-2 or 6.
Didn't we put the Bengals on the list last week? Didn't I force everybody into that? Yeah.
You did. So we have that on the list as right now with it. Are we adding anybody this week? I feel like are we adding? Should we add this? We have the Saints already there, don't we? We don't have the Saints. We should add the Saints.
I don't know.
You think so? 2 and 7, they're in last place.
No, the Saints. I'm good with the Saints. I'm also kind of thinking about Chicago. If we want to make this a hot take list too.
Whoa, that would be a hot take list, right?
I don't know how hot of a take it is as it is, because if I think about it, when I was talking about the coaching, like it's not like that's going to change unless something seismic in that locker room takes place. I don't pay enough attention to Bears media. I don't know if there was a players only meeting or if they tried to have a come to Jesus, kumbaya, Jobu smoking a cigar in the locker room. They probably got to try it all at this point, and maybe Eberflus needs a new haircut and trim the beard up. I know it's No Shave November, but right now I think that the Bears could possibly make their way on that list, and I would be pretty confident. There's a very good podcast personality that I listen to. I'm good with that, but there's good podcast personality. He always bets like the tip of his pinky for one team. Yeah. He's like, there's no way they're going to win the Super Bowl. I would be comfortable doing that with the Bears right now. And I could probably eat my words in the next 2 weeks, because as I stated and as my little name tag thing when it pops up says, I'm the resident idiot because I said Clemson will be in the ACC championship. Texas A&M is going to be in the SEC championship. I want to jump on the ponies, but that's the thing that I said also. Teams don't want me to join their bandwagon right now. They don't want me there. They say they want me to talk about them. I said NC State, Grayson McCall got his head knocked off. I said Texas A&M, they get knocked out by 20 points against South Carolina.
What's your name again this week? What do you got it? Yes, there.
I watch so much football, and it just means nothing because all of these guys go out and get hammered the night before. The college kids go to Halloween parties on Thursday and play like shit on Saturdays, and you just don't know. You just don't know.
Jimmy, should we take the Bengals off the list? Should we take? No. Or we leave it? No, or leave it? All right, we're gonna leave them on there with
you. Can't take them off the list.
You guys play the Ravens week 10, and it's a big game. You win that one, you might be saying, "Let's get them off." They win that.
I'm not going to be advocating for them any further. I will. Right. I'm watching them, and they played well today, and the defense plays well against bad offenses. Who do they play next week? Who's
they play Thursday night against the Ravens.
That is
recipe for death.
Yes. Yeah. It's not going to be close like the last game was. I feel like that one because maybe the Ravens scored all their points against the Broncos.
They might have got them all out of the way. Maybe they do play another orange or a game that for me when I was a kid growing up, this game always felt like I always liked the uniform matchup because they were both in the AFC East at the time. They're not anymore. The Colts moved to the South, but I always liked the Bills-Colts kind of matchup there, and so we're gonna get that in Indianapolis. I don't know why those uniforms to be always like that matchup. So we get that next week. Bills-Colts, Broncos-Chiefs. Maybe the Broncos. We'll see. We'll get in the Chiefs here in a second, but we'll see if the Broncos have a chance to knock off the Chiefs. That would be a big win though for the rookie quarterback, as you said, as well. Niners, Bucks. Both teams 4-4 right now. Bucks obviously play tomorrow, and then Jimmy. Kind of a game we were not expecting at the beginning of the year. One I wasn't expecting. Steelers at Commanders. That's a decent little morning game as well. And then you got Eagles, Cowboys, Jets, Cardinals, Lions, Texans there. And then the Monday night game is Dolphins, Rams to wrap it up. Browns, Packers, Raiders, Seahawks on a bye next week. So a couple decent games there. That Steelers-Commanders one wasn't expected that one at the beginning of the year, but we'll see what happens there at that one.
I think it's all around football right now. We're getting such great matchups and it's bleeding over into everything. I'm going back to college football again, but I was watching college football final and my dad and I played at the same college my dad played at. He won 3 conference titles back in the 90s at Western Colorado. I played there before I graduated, obviously, and then we're watching this weekend because they're hosting my sister's school because she's the equipment manager for Colorado State Pueblo, and we make it the college football final. We were the third of their top plays. We were number 3 for a 40-yard or 60-yard Hail Mary bomb that we scored at the end of the first half, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, it's one of those moments, and I don't know if everybody's philosophical like this, or maybe if it's just me, and I've been trying to do a lot of like mental work with the school teaching and coaching and everything like that. But I'm like, there is so much talent all throughout football, and we're seeing it. It's dispersed. We're able to see NFL games so far this year have been pretty much not what you expect for the most part. There's been a lot of really good games. The college football has been amazing, all of the divisions. There's a lot of high school games that I've been able to go out and watch. Like, there's something right now. It was a tough time when we started our podcast, when it was right after it was the start of the pause, after the pause of pandemic. We all hit unpause after we almost had to rage quit that season. And, it was a rough feel. And now we're kind of back to where, the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series. It was a freaking sweet matchup. It's like back to normal. Like, I'm expecting all of this chaos to happen, and I'm sitting here and we're able to commentate on it and people listen to what we say on this. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, these are some of the most competitive and most well-played and most well-coached matchups in football and in all of these sports. And I'm excited to see what basketball and hockey season are ending up to be like. But right now, football season has been an A+ from high school, my middle school team, all the way up through the NFL level. It's been freaking awesome.
It's been a good year, and some of the college matchups, like you said, we've been getting some good ones as well.
We're gonna get an undefeated Indiana against Ohio State. Oh yes!
Who would have thought? As a kid,
I still love Kirk Signetti.
Whenever I think of Indiana, Google me.
I win a lot. Google.
I think I was talking. Actually, I brought up college game day final on my pod this morning. Fat Boy Fed. We were talking about me and Brian and Casey were talking about how we like it. We like it now, but we liked it even more in the past with Lou Holtz and all that. Like we did enjoy that part where they were on there.
I don't really like the Matthew Berry guy. I like Dan Mullins and Galloway, but Matthew Berry's annoying sometimes.
It's a little tough. Jimmy, just a game that I was looking at the schedule. Like it's not like record wise, but the Jets Cardinals one. Like that one will kind of say a little bit. Like in terms of this, like if the Jets win, they've won 2 in a row now, and it's 4. Right, the momentum kind of builds towards what you say is a wild card spot. And the Cardinals, you win your 6-4. That I'm just saying that's a big difference for a team like that. So it's kind of a weird, like, kind of game to me in terms of like because the Jets lose, it's kind of like you lost the Cardinals or 3-7 now. I don't know. We'll see. That one kind of has a little intrigue to me. And then Lions Texans on Sunday night will be that game.
Has the franchise ever fired 2 coaches in one season?
I'm sure they have.
I would be concerned.
Al Davis somewhere maybe has done it. Al Davis. I know. George Steinbrenner for the Yankees probably fired Martin like 7 times in a season. So.
Steinbrenner also still doesn't allow people to have beards on his team, and I don't even think he's alive anymore. If I'm correct,
his sons are holding on the tradition. That's the one that they have with it as well. So yeah, we got some, like you said. I like your point about overall football too. Like we have had some good, and like you said, we get some different ones.
I'm so biased when I say that, and it's funny that I'm saying that now because I'm getting really ready for wrestling season and everything like that. And college wrestling is starting up, but football is definitely my number one passion. That's why I enjoy doing this show, no matter who's on. And I would talk about football anyways. I would have to be. It's better for me to do it this way with an audience and like a microphone and a possibility of getting recognized and noticed. So I'd be sitting at some dive bar with my 5th or 6th beer mug in front of me, just chatting away. There's Sam Darnold. It took 7 years. It always takes 7 years for a quarterback to mature. That's what happened.
I was telling people are like, you're doing it another year, right? And I go, honestly, you really just summed it up. I'm like, it's just talking football after the game. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff here, but it is, that's the best part. Like, it's just reacting to games. And sometimes in the playoffs, it's even better when we're reacting. 14-10, by the way, there for anybody following along here with the game. Colts will be off here and probably
There's no way we haven't been more entertaining than the second half. There is no way that's not the
Jefferson's
reality.
catch is maybe the best one. I'll give him that one. That one maybe is the best one for it.
Yeah, but that's what, 2 seconds and everybody's on their phones anyways.
That's true. Hey, Jimmy, who you got for tomorrow night? 8.5-point favorites for Chiefs. So, Jimmy, if you got the Chiefs winning, that's fair. You got them covering too. But what do you think? The Bucks maybe a little madness tomorrow? Any chance the Bucks
covering at this point with the Chiefs has been a very bad bet and a very scary proposition. I do definitely think they're going to win, and I feel bad. It's 8-0 at the start of their possible three-peat season. There's
God.
All the trends, because I don't know if
they're set up for a downfall, Jimmy. Though, come on, let's be
they are set up for a downfall. But is it going to be the downfall when the team that just lost their number 1 and number 2 receivers 2 weeks ago?
No, that's not going to be.
And in prime time in Kansas City,
it'll be in the playoffs.
It'll probably be in the playoffs because they played with fire going all the way back to the 2019 season. Because remember that championship run when they were down by double digits in every single one of the playoff games, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's finally going to happen. It's finally done," and they've done it. I'm not sitting here saying that it's going to continue like that, but I have a student he's from Tampa and he's a huge Bucs fan, and we've been talking he's had a good season up until this point. Now that the injuries have happened, I'm just sorry, buddy. Hey, think about me too, because I feel pretty much the same way about my team, but I'm just feel really bad for you. I'm sorry. I wish it was better for you, but it's just sometimes things don't work out the way that you want them. And I think that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, and I think that's the NFL this season because
that Monday night game. Was it a Monday night game where everybody was getting hurt right at the end there?
Yeah, it was the last Monday night game that they played, and I can't remember if they won or lost.
No, they lost. Godwin got hurt. They were trying to come back. It was kind of unnecessary. Oh, versus the Ravens. That's who it was. So they got the Ravens and the Falcons and the Chiefs on Monday night.
And the Falcons are in their division, so
yeah, that's a weird NFC AFC Monday night kind of match.
They're 0-2 against the Falcons this season. They got swept.
I'll say this: I'll be rooting for you, Bucks.
Everybody, except for the millions and millions and millions and millions of Taylor Swift fans. I got applauded, Daren. I got applauded. So I'm a smart ass, and I like to be a smart. I find that the best teachers are always themselves. So I'm definitely a smart ass at school. I like to listen to music, and I like to throw in pop culture references. We were doing this thing where the assignment is you make a CD cover about the West African empires that we're talking about, and it's an era of history. So at the end of it, I put their goals, and they do their learning targets. They write them down, and I put in a GIF. And it's Taylor Swift diving into a pond. And I got applauded during one of my hours, like, Mr. Pilato, I just want to say. And then all of a sudden, all the girls are like, yes, thank you. Thank you. I was like, wait.
The tides are turning.
I tied it back together because you're making a CD cover about the era of history. And they're like, oh, my God, you know eras? I was like, well, I'm having a cruel summer. And I was like, yes, bravo.
You're figuring it out. Pop culture with the young ones. You got to get there with it. That's how you get there.
It's really bad because then I go and talk to the football coaches and that are all 30, 35 plus that have kids and families, and I'm still talking like one of the 12-year-olds because that's the defense mechanism. You got to talk like them so that you understand them and you can redirect them in the way that they'll understand. And then I had the brain rot of like. I said something. It was cold on Friday night at practice. It's freaking freezing out here, Mr. Bigglesworth. And all of them were like, what the fuck? Why did you just – why is that what you're thinking of? They're like, what? Austin Powers, Mr. Bigglesworth.
Nope, they don't know that one. They don't know that one. They don't know.
All right. I also on Friday had to explain what a CD was to one of my students. They were like, it's the circle thing with the hole in the middle, right? It's like,
If we're getting to that point, Jimmy, then I know for sure. Hey,
I'm gonna have to update it to album cover. Your iTunes, Spotify picture.
Hey, next summer when we do our podcast together, before we jump on this again, we'll have to write down some questions for what are some of the craziest things our kids ask us, and we'll have to kind of.
I gotta bring back Sunday Scare. Here's the thing. I've now got students that. Because I let them listen to music with their headphones on their computers, just to keep it quiet sometimes. And I've had kids come up to me and like they're writing essays and they're listening to Far End of the Bench, which I'm really glad that I've kind of covered my legally by saying that this there's a listener discretion. It's labeled as explicit. So if they're listening to it, they're listening to it. I guess that's what it is. But I've been requested, like, you should do a podcast with other teachers. I was like, well, we had one. I was doing one, but I don't know. We just got to kind of.
There's only so much time you have in a day, too.
Well, and you were at that point, it was going to be our 4th show apiece. So it was a lot.
Hey, we got to do at least one.
I feel like we should bring, my brother and maybe one other teacher on so that it's not just the two of us. But I think that we could definitely do something like Sunday Scaries, Summer Camp Vibes.
Oh, no doubt.
Summer Camp was the VSN one. Sunday Scaries was the one that I tried to do. But teaching it's good, and it's also cathartic. I don't know if you've ever been able to, like, express some of the stories that you've had teaching. It's like, whew. I didn't realize that had that much weight when I was carrying it around.
Or somebody else felt that same way. That's the same.
That was like I hated my certification class when I was getting my teaching license because I had to go 30 minutes on the light rail downtown every Tuesday night for 3.5 hours worth of class. It's like, this sucks. But then it was also like really nice because I'd be there and I had a kid pull a gun out of his backpack at school. It's like, oh shit, well. I was mad that little Lucy went to the bathroom too many times during
perspective.
Class. So, I'm not having near as bad of a school year as you are. And then also, like, my kids won't shut up. Hey, my kids won't shut up. What are you doing?
You're like, that's a little perspective with that. So, yeah, we'll get back to that here right there. Like I said, me and Jimmy have stories for days one of these times on that. Hey, Jimmy, not this week, but next week, keep this on the mind. Who's top 3 favorite, your MVP favorites at this point? So we'll think of that next year. We'll get with it. Winners and losers. Week 9. Who you got?
Winner. I guess. Winner's Garrett Wilson.
Good call.
Winner's like winner is the ability to catch a football this year because there was a few plays all throughout the weekend where I'm just sitting there like, holy shit. The play we started off the show with was one.
That was my game ball. This guy right here. I mean, that was as good as it gets, right? He was
and 9 targets too on the game, but like that was a one-handed catch. These things are nuts. Did you watch? I'm sure that you probably did because it was a California team.
Yeah.
The UCLA, Nebraska, they had the one interception where it bounces off the receiver's leg. It's like one of those plays where if it happens to you in the video game, you're throwing your PS5 through the wall. And you're like, oh, it actually happens in real life. It actually does happen.
I would have been so pissed, Jimmy, if that happened there. I would in a video game.
I was playing a couple games before this, and I finally got up. And I was like, I need to go eat something. I need to go take a walk because it's just getting worse. And every time I restart the game, it's like the turnovers are getting worse and worse. And what's going on? I'm seeing ghosts.
We'll be with it.
Halloween's over.
We got it. Yeah, it's over. You know what's not over is my Raiders sucking. So your Bengals get the win over my Raiders as we move to week. Jimmy, can you believe this? We're into week 10 next week with it. We'll get to that part of it. So we're halfway through the season.
Yeah, and we're almost at the point where we can say, we have less football in front of us than we do behind us.
That's tough. I do look forward to the Sundays though while those playoffs are going on. We're on here and we get some stuff in there with it. Well, but
that's the real hope this year is that either the Bengals and Broncos both make playoff runs, or the Broncos at least make one, or maybe the Bengals, because the playoff shows nobody understands. Like as a small content creator, the playoff live streams, the post games. I'm sure you guys experienced with the 7th-inning stretch in the World Series games.
That's 750 the other night.
Yeah, it's people just want to listen to. After the game, they're just still excited, and they're like us. I'm sure you have the same feeling when we get off the show. Like I need a couple hours to get myself calm. That's why we have the show set at the time that it does, because then I take an hour and I still get like 6.5 hours of sleep before I have to wake up and teach. But like people are very passionate about their sports, and that's why we are still here and doing it, and that's why last week I felt like got a little heated with all of us, and it's fun, but it is it makes sense because we all care about it, and Terrell is loving life right now, and he continues to love life because his team plays in a really shitty division, just like Brian's team is playing in a really shitty division that can't figure themselves out, so they still have a chance of winning their division. They don't have to look up at two of the best teams in the NFL like me all of my life.
I got a team that's 7-0, going to be 8-0 next week in front of our division.
I'm in that boat too. I'm looking at the same 7-0 team too.
You're right. You got the cap too in that there. You got it there. I think.
This is a nice one.
It is a beauty.
I got these. I picked up these two at the game last week. The Broncos, the
It's
fact that the Walmart partnership is doing a nice thing for them.
It's not the same logo though, right? Not in black, right? It looks like a whole different logo.
This one is the old school. It is the Bronco with the the horn in the
I
D.
gotcha. Yeah, the old school D with the I gotcha.
That's
okay.
I when I play with them in Madden, I use that uniform more than I use. I don't really like the new ones.
That's what I would use the Seahawks one, old one too, if I ever did that with that.
The Seahawks baby blues ones are one of my favorite with the silver helmet.
And I would go Bengals old ones. I would also do that as well.
I do like the black jersey and the old school Bengals riding on the helmet. The white pants.
And I always go Ravens all black. If I usually go that one, it's usually all black with that. I will say
I can't do that one, and I can't do the Steelers all black either because it's just been killing me. Too many. They always wear that one when they score 50, Daren. It's I got to go into the therapist and tell everybody where the bad man touched me now.
That was sorry, God. I had a joke, but hold out on this one. I'm not gonna Shane Gills here. Hey Jimmy, I was gonna say this to your point there that it's fun. Like we had Terrell on. We do have our little. Terrell's the best at it in terms of like he likes to call us out on stuff. So that's why I enjoy having him on with it. But hopefully he'll get back on. Brian, he told me he was gonna jump on 5 minutes late. I'm guessing maybe didn't make it. So hopefully we'll get you back on. But Jimmy, I do want to say this. It was kind of fun doing the show together. Just me and you again tonight too, kind of bouncing off ideas. We're already at hour 10, so obviously me and you haven't had the chance to really do that just with the two of us in a while. So it was good to kind of catch up on football mid-season here a little bit. So
before we go, I do want to get your opinion on this because it's kind of I brought it up on my show, and we've talked more baseball on my show in the last month than we ever have. But Aaron Judge he's losing his legacy now, right? Because all the regular season feats are amazing, but that was probably the worst postseason performance out of a superstar that I can remember in a very, 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 very long time.
It's funny. I actually asked that question this morning on Fatboy, and I said I was to my brother, and Brian brought up, it was Barry Bonds for a while till 2002. He had one home run in his first 100 at bats in the postseason. And like that's obviously not what you think of when you think Barry Bonds. And so like that's kind of the guy that comes to my mind. But then like the air on top of that,
defense it seeped over into defense. Normally, if you're in a slump, you can at least play one side of the ball correctly. But the Yankees defense as a whole, that was the X factor.
I have it
the lineup.
I have it down as I asked the question: does Judge have the most pressure now out of anybody? So like basically,
I've got people that I know are the nicest people in media that have brought me in and have never said a negative word about anybody that are sitting there on their shows and like bigger platforms than we have, and they're also saying that thing as well. And we just got a comment in about I think it's dire straits. I don't necessarily know if it's dire straits because they're going to be able to reload. But now I don't know if you saw, and you probably discussed it too, but Juan Soto and now Garrett Cole, things are not looking great in the Bronx. They're going to lose two of their major superstars.
Can I tease the show Thursday night?
That's fine. I'm good with it.
I'm diving into this Thursday and my guy here, he joined us throughout the postseason here a little bit as we were going live with all the shows that you were talking about. How you get a few more comments in here. And we got a lot. We got our Yankees fans tuning in as well. So I do look forward to diving into this more. I do think there's a little room there. I do think Soto. I'm still leaning towards it with the Yankees, but I do think there's a little wiggle room there, maybe for him to leave.
His post was like highest bidder, and everybody knows his agent is also dead set on highest bidder, and it's hard pressed for me to think that the Mets aren't going to try and steal the biggest thing in their state.
Logan Stone, if you're out here, you got to be so happy at me and Jimmy. You got to give Jimmy a stand. I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to clip this and play it just for Logan on Thursday because
I'll come on and I'll find my old Yankees hat. I'll come on for a second and I'll be one of the Goombas like, hey, no, I took that ball out of Mookie Betts' glove for a good reason. He was in my section. He had to know the truth, right? And Juan Soto, he's a fucking sellout, man. He's going for the highest fucking contract. That's fine. He doesn't want to be in there. He can't stand the pinstripes. He can't stand the pressure. Meanwhile, he's the only one that's actually hitting home runs and playing well.
Did you hear the Rob Gronkowski story about him? So he's on with that, with the Adams lady, right? And he says that he including he says that he knew the guy from Arizona, the Bear Down University. He said he was a hockey player in like intramural stuff. So there you go. It was funny. You should listen to it where he says that he goes. And she's like, you know him, and so it was kind of a funny little like thing with it as they finished up. So yeah, so a lot here baseball. We'll have all of that Thursday night. Me and Jimmy will be with you again next Sunday here. Appreciate the comments here at the end. We'll be here with you. We go 9:45 Eastern time. So if you want to tune in, we talked to Little Giants. We'll probably get the Jets back there. Like I said, Jets Cardinals big game next week as well. So Jimmy Pilato, you guys got your pod in for next week, ours as well. I look forward to next week, man, with us doing the show. Have a good week ahead. All right, I know you're kind of busy there with everything. And so have a good week with the wrestling starting up. I look forward to us getting to the second half of football here, man. It was our third season, second half. Pretty crazy.
It's third season, second half. The fact that I'm now, it's 4 years and 3 years and everything like that. I'm excited. And I'm excited for wrestling season 2. I'm waiting for all of the matches to be posted on YouTube because that's what I fall asleep to from now until the end of February. And that's how I, justify it. It's the psycho in me. I have a mental break where I have to do everything 110%. That's why I wake up at 4:50 in the morning and get there an hour before school. So I'm there, I'm at school doing this 100%. I'm there, I'm wrestling, doing this 100%. And it is that was, I will say, finishing up here, my show, Nico and I obviously like to happy daylight savings, everybody. Make sure your clocks are set an hour behind. That's gonna be that's the nicest thing about having to wake up early tomorrow. But I was telling Nico last week, and I felt it again, like the coaching, the teaching, being able to see somebody take what you've given to them and use it to their advantage and see what they're, we had a first year girl wrestler go out and beat the shit out of this boy. We called her the mongoose on cocaine because she was just taking him down and taking him down and taking him down. And the kid was like, literally by the end of the match, like backing away from her, like, please stop touching me. And then she took him down again and he just laid over on his back. And I'm like, I've been with this girl in class all year and I've never saw this side. And this is the coolest thing that I'm seeing right now because I saw take everything that we've learned and use it. And that's all we're going for.
That's where sports are awesome right there. No, I'm serious. That's where it is right there. Because you see somebody in like a different element and then they go to a competitive element and you're like, oh, all right. I like it. This is somebody I can work with. This is somebody I can get a bunker. Like I'm willing to work with you on this. So that's the best.
Let's keep working those takedowns. Let's keep beating up these boys. Let's go.
Let's beat the crap out of that one. That one especially is giving me a hard time. No, so you're like calling him out.
You get to go beat up him today.
You're going to deal with Kelly now after this. Kelly, you beat his ass right now.
Number 1 versus number 3. And we're staying in number 1 versus number 3. Why not? We had a girl like that 2 years ago that anybody that was like giving me too much lip or talking too much, I would be like, hey, you go work with Jacob today. Okay. You go make sure that you put him in a crossface cradle. You make him cry today. I want you to go make him cry. And then he wouldn't talk the next day. Be like, thank you. Good job.
Well, as we end Talking the Gridiron, it's making me cry. The Raiders. And I'm done talking about them for tonight. Week 10, Jimmy Pilato, he was on his game tonight. It was awesome tonight. Jimmy, it was fun. We'll see if we get Brian Terrell back next week. But it's always fun doing it with you, my friend. And we get Nico on, hopefully, maybe one of these times as well soon. So for Jimmy Pilato, the resident idiot for this week, I'm Daren Breyer, Fat Boy Fadeaways. We'll see you guys next week for Week 10. Peace.